Gold news! Should you worry about confiscation? Short answer, yes. I'm going to explain some very disturbing recent events, possibilities, and solutions in 3 simple, fast steps. Step number 1, your risks are definitely increasing. Germany is most likely passing a bill January 10th, 2020. To find out the details, let's go to this news article. This is from Bitcoin.com. Reports from German media state that purchases of precious metals over 2,000 euros will now require customer identification for buyers, including criminal background checks for businesses. If a dealer suspects, he must report his potential customer to the authorities. If a trader fails to adequately comply with these obligations, he faces severe fines. Here's a quote from Reddit showing people are rightfully upset. They don't want normal people to bank run their scam paper, meaning the currency. Gold and hard assets is how you protect yourself from inflation. They want to know every single person that tries to get out of their cage. So you're going to have to register your personal details along with the details of the gold transaction to the government so they can monitor that. And some people might push back and say, well, this is good. This is for protection and security. The problem with that is when you look at the facts, when governments institute these types of laws, you'll find that they really only prevent law-abiding citizens from doing whatever it is they're trying to keep the criminals from doing. A great example of this is TSA. Back in 2012, when I retired, I was dating a gal up in New York. We went to a small flea market in Brooklyn, and I actually bought this necklace. You can see that this necklace has a giant bullet on it. It's a rifle shell. Now, I have no idea what that is, but it's about the size of my pinky. So this thing is huge. My point is that after I bought that, I threw it in my toiletries bag and I completely forgot about it. Over the next few years, I took hundreds, if not thousands, of flights inside the United States and outside of the United States. How many times do you think TSA took my bottle of water, my toothpaste, my cuticle scissors, my tweezers, all of these things? But how many times do you think they found this giant rifle shell at the bottom of my toiletries bag? Got any guesses? 0 times. That's why I still have it. If you're one of those people that thinks something like TSA that's restricting our personal freedom is a good sacrifice to make because it adds protection and security, you've got another thing coming. If I can get this huge rifle shell in and out of TSA thousands of times over the span of 3 or 4 years, just think what a real criminal could do. So really the net result of these laws that take away our personal liberties and freedom is that they cost the taxpayers billions of dollars without making us any safer or increasing our security. Additionally, I'd like to point out that the data they're collecting is permanent. That doesn't go away. So even if the current government is benevolent and they want to use your personal data for its intended purpose, you're at the mercy of the next person or administration that comes into power. And they could be far more draconian and much more like a dictator. My point is the natural progression of government is to continue to get bigger and more powerful throughout the course of time. Let's dive into this a little deeper so you can see just how dangerous the new anti-gold, anti-privacy law is in Germany. We know government expands in size and power over time. When it starts, usually very limited in power, just like the United States was a long time ago. But now it has absolute power. So one of the big problems is the type of people that this absolute power attracts. In the beginning, the government's very small. It can't do much, so it attracts the type of people that we want to be in government, the humble civil servant. But if it has absolute power, then it attracts people who have an insatiable lust for that power. And what makes matters worse is the type of skills that you need to be a successful politician. Number one, you have to be very proficient at lying. You have to have no moral compass whatsoever. Also, you have to have a willingness to compromise your principles and beliefs. And I would go so far as to say most in government today have no principles or beliefs whatsoever. And let's be honest, the majority of the people in government, that is their best opportunity. And what I mean by that is as people, we're naturally going to pursue our own self-interest. If you're in the private sector, the way that you are successful is if you provide a good or service to an employer or customers that they value more than the money in their back pocket. Well, if you have all of these attributes, let's call them, the chances are you're not going to do very well in the private sector. So you go into government. And this is highlighted by that famous quote from Napoleon. In politics, stupidity is not a handicap. As an example of this, try watching the next congressional hearing. Editor, let's throw up a clip of exactly what I'm talking about.
This is a island that at its smallest level or smallest location, it's 7 miles between one shore and the other. Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
So did you get that, guys? Next time that you go to an island with one of your buddies, make sure that you both don't go to one side of the island, or obviously it'll tip over and you will fall right into the ocean. You don't want to do that. My point is that even if the current government has good intentions, they're still collecting that data and they have possession of that data. So sooner or later, this type of government will have possession of your data, and eventually this government will have possession of not only your data, but most likely your gold. Step number 2, is gold confiscation even possible? To answer that question, let's take a trip back through history. 1933, FDR signs Executive Order 6102. This required people to deliver any gold to the Federal Reserve in exchange for $20 an ounce. And I might add that FDR later revalued gold at a much higher rate, stealing that purchasing power from the general public. 1935, Mussolini passed Gold for the Fatherland initiative. This involved people donating their rings, necklaces, and other forms of gold by Italian citizens in exchange for a steel wristband that read "Gold for the Fatherland." Sounds like a great trade-off. 1959, Australia's government makes it legal to seize private citizens' gold in return for paper money. This was press release number 29. Philip Lynch, the treasurer at the time, stated that gold had to be delivered to the Reserve Bank of Australia within 1 month of its coming into a person's possession. 1966, Britain prosecutes gold coin investors. During this period, after Britain left the gold standard, the British pound was falling, compelling some people to purchase gold overseas. To stop the pound from falling on currency markets, the Labour government blocked imports of gold coins and banned private citizens from owning more than 4 precious metal coins. One thing I want to point out, that Britain was not on the gold standard at the time they confiscated or made it illegal to have that gold. One of the common arguments is that we could never see a government confiscate gold again because we're not on a gold standard. Therefore, they don't need that gold to back their currency. But from the story of Britain, we know that is not true. All of these examples of gold confiscation, which I'd like to add, were done by developed countries, not third world countries, were a result of the country having severe financial issues. Well, does that sound like any country that we know of today? I don't know. Maybe countries with negative interest rates, the fact that we're in the midst of a global debt crisis. If you watch my videos, which I'm sure you do, you know there is no lack of risk in the world today from a financial standpoint, and therefore the risks or the possibilities of governments confiscating your gold are even greater than they have been in the past. Step number 3, solutions. What can you do to prevent your gold from being confiscated? If you're in the United States right now, you're looking at the government and you are very concerned. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying that there's a 100% chance that the US government is going to confiscate your gold. What I am saying is that the probability is much greater than 0. Therefore, it's something you need to be cognizant of and have a plan for. You need to prepare for that just in case. So if you're one of those people like me that thinks about this and wants to protect your downside, the first thing you can do is consider offshore gold storage. I used to suggest looking at the Perth Mint, but after doing research for this video, I'm going to go ahead and take them off the list. Why? Because I didn't know that Australia already stole people's gold. So why would I want my gold there to keep it safe? Number 2, I thought it was very interesting that all of the countries that I researched that confiscated gold in the past never confiscated jewelry. And I'm going to put a link in the description below of a video that Mike Maloney did that outlines this beautifully. So if you want to have some of your gold that you keep on you in the form of jewelry, that might not be a bad idea. Number 3 is one of my personal favorites, diversifying your political risk. This is a great plan B with basically no downside. If you can go to one of these smaller countries that can't afford, that don't have the resources to steal from you and spy on you, you set up a bank account, maybe you get a residency visa or an investment visa, and the next thing you know, after a few years, you might be able to apply for citizenship. Then you have dual citizenship, you have 2 passports. So if it hits the fan in the United States and you don't like what's going on there, you can take your gold, you can take your jewelry and head out, go somewhere else and watch it from a distance, and you don't have to have the crosshairs on your wealth or your personal freedom. It brings us back to why gold is so important. Do all of us love it because it's yellow and shiny and sits there in the corner? No, we love it for what it represents. It represents more personal freedom. And one of my favorite quotes is from Thomas Jefferson. I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. And this new German anti-privacy, anti-gold law is why we need to never forget that quote. For more content that'll help you build wealth and thrive in a world of out-of-control central banks and big governments, check out this playlist right here, and I will see you on the next video.